Hello, everyone. Hope you all doing well. Just got something that I would like to share with all of you. Uh, and what I would like to share today is about our calling and the gifts that God has given us. You know, in this world of religion and faith and churches, it's almost like a mirror of the world that you see out there, or politics, so much. So you look at some of the top jobs that people compete of in the world is people want to be a big political figure. They want to be in the parliament, or they want to be a member of the parliament. So there's a lot of competition in that if you're going to make a big difference, a huge difference in other people's lives, you have to be political. You have to be in the politics where you can influence a greater number of people, or you have to be a celebrity, you have to be that. So many things that are out there in the world. But if you really look at people that are changing lives and that are making a big difference and huge difference, it's not merely those that are in politics. So the calling in the world, if people perceive that you have to be in politics and this is the top job and this is the best you could get, well, that would be a mistake, because there are so many things, endless, that it's actually not worth fighting for a particular one thing. You just have to find out what you are good at and then pursue that. And that is up to each person to know where their strength is. Yeah, you can try different things and see if they work or it doesn't work. But ultimately, you find one thing that you love doing, and ultimately, if you find that, you'll be pretty happy because you are fulfilling both your purpose and you're doing what you like. So what does this have to do with religion and faith? Well, in world of religion, especially in Christianity and churches, especially in our time right now in the New Testament era, a lot of Christian people think that God's calling, if God is calling you truly, that means you have to be a preacher, a minister, and have a role in the leadership of a church or a group. That's the calling that God could offer. So people want to get to the top job. Maybe they know someone there who can nominate them, or they would like to go to a theological seminary where they can have qualification, and maybe they will be given that job. So everyone wants to be this, everyone wants to be that, an apostle, prophet, an evangelist, a pastor, and you name it. There's so many roles that people do in churches, but people are fighting for leadership position as if that's the top calling that God is giving people. But if you look at the Bible, the calling of God is not always about being a preaching or anything like that. You look at many people that has been called in the Bible to do a job, and they did various roles. They weren't preachers. Like you could take what was Noah's calling. Noah's calling was to build an ark to save the world. What was Jacob's, or what was Joseph's calling? Let's say Joseph. Joseph was called to save a civilization of Egypt by storing grain. And what about Moses? He was called to lead out a nation. And so many people that you will find. You'll find Daniel. What was he called to do? He was called to be the wisest man in the Babylonian kingdom. And he served in the judiciary. He was a judge. He was a supreme judge there in the court of the king's temple. And then you have men like Nehemiah. You have even women. Queen Esther. Her calling was to be the queen to the king of Persia. And so many examples that you can find in the Bible. These people were not prophets. They were prophets, but no one had to become a prophet in order to fulfill their God-given purpose. So A calling of God doesn't necessarily mean that you have to become a preacher. Your calling could be simple, mundane things in life. For example, we often think of teachers, and sometimes we neglect female and women in particular. The greatest teachers of all times, and credit to our mothers. They are our mothers. They do the teaching from our childhood. They ingrain truth in our mind from young age, and then hand it us over to the society once we are ready. But then the credit is not given where it is due. So just because a mother may not be a CEO of a company doesn't mean she doesn't have a calling. That could be just a calling. And even other jobs, think about your work that you do. I work in healthcare, and I find a great pleasure and joy in what I do. And yeah, I can take that as my calling. As far as I know, it is a calling that you help others to become better, to live healthy lives, and that is a calling. But in all of these things, there is a catch. The God that is in you and His Spirit, they affect everything that you do. And that's why, in the end, what really matters is that you do not leave your God out of everything that you do. You influence wherever you go. And this is what God's people have done, who have truly understood their calling. Whether it was Joseph, he conducted himself in a way that God wanted him to behave while he was a slave, and even when he was the second important man in Egypt. Same with Moses, same with many other servants of God. They show others that they belong to a creator, and they brought glory to their creator through whatever they do. And that's basically it. If you have come now as well, even in the churches, yes, there are some most desirable position that people like, but if you think about it, church, one of its components is leadership, but it's not the only thing that should be in the church. There are so many things that we can be a part of, even in the Christian community. You just need to read 1 Corinthians chapter 12 all the way through chapter 14. There are so many different gifts, so many different help in the body, and all work together just like a human body does work to benefit the whole body, and to make sure that everyone is supplying to the body as the body need. But what is happening is people have neglected their God's given talent, and they think if God is calling them, it has to be a leadership role. They have to be somewhere at the top job. But that's not the calling. The calling, yes, God may have called you for leadership, but that doesn't mean everyone has to become a leader. Everybody has to become a preacher. Everybody has to come this. You just have to know what God is calling you for. So do you know your gift? Do you know the talent that God has given you? And what are you doing with it? Are you developing it? Are you working on it? And God is expecting you to do something about it. You probably have heard of the parable of these three servants that was given a piece of money, and they went out to work. The two of them multiplied their money, and they had an increase to it. And the one that was given one piece of money, he went and digged the ground and buried his money. So when the king came, he was asked, hey, where is it? And the king was angry. He said, you wicked and lazy servant. So God has given us something that we are responsible for developing, but we have to know first what it is and how can we develop that? How can we make it bigger? And when we come together as a group in a church, we serve one another with those gifts and talent that God has given us. And you are responsible for the gift that God has given you. So ultimately, what are you doing? What gift has God given you, and what are you doing with it, more importantly? Don't let your gift to be quenched. Keep working on it. Know what it is. And God is watching what you do. Thank you. Bye bye.